Je suis sexy, genre je le sais pas. Monte dans l'avion direct, aéropas. J'ai pas beaucoup de cash, ça ne va pas. Mais j'ai ce truc qui frappe, Dua Lipa. Je suis sexy, genre je le sais pas. Monte dans l'avion direct, aéropas. J'ai pas beaucoup de cash, ça ne va pas. Mais j'ai ce truc qui frappe.
YFM got the lens on go.
First, I just want to ask you, you've done so much, but one of the most fascinating things reading your bio to me was you were one of 13. Who can say that? Who else in this? Oh,
14. So I have 10 sisters and 3 brothers.
sorry, one of my math. That's why I'm a journalist,
I have 13 siblings.
not a math reporter. 13 siblings. 10, 11 girls and 3 boys. So just give us a little run through of what it was like growing up with a football team.
Yeah, I guess we had 11 at least. It was fun. We always had something to do. Games were always to be had. So you could, and I tell people this, you could be mad at half your family and still go play a game of basketball. So, still have good friends. They're my best friends. We see each other all the time. And a lot of us have kids. So we have probably 26 cousins that live in a 5-mile radius. And they're always together. Those of you who have cousins who are your best friends, there's nothing like it. So for all of us siblings, we love it. And I'm really, really close with all my siblings. We do a sibling trip every other year. And it's our favorite trip. We have no kids. Our parents aren't there. It's like living together. We have our spouses and significant others. So we get to know each other in the space we're in because you're not always the same kid that you grew up with. So having a sibling trip and making sure you get to know the person where they're at. You get to know your siblings all over again as a spouse. So it's really a unique experience. And I love my family.
So growing up with so many girls, because it would be one thing if you grew up with 10 brothers and you were here like a champion for women flag and football, but growing up with a lot of women in your house, how did you fall in love with the game of football? Not that women can't be in love with football, but was it your brothers playing, your dad playing? How did you first get into it?
We love sports, so we all played sports, and I think that's where it started. So loving sports, loving the competition, competing with each other no matter what it was. So if it was football in the backyard, it was mostly us girls. So it was 3 girls, then a boy, then 8 more girls. So it was mostly girls. My brother, nobody picked him. He was the last pick because we were more talented. But that was a lot of fun. And we had neighborhood kids we'd bring in. So you just played whatever sport. We loved anything, and that's kind of how we got into it. And I hate to say this, my dad, this is so horrible. I don't know if I should admit it. My dad used to listen to the Cowboys. But that was before the Texans were around, and as soon as the Texans came around, we ditched them. So it's hard. I have not admitted that publicly.
Well, I will say, congratulations to the Texans. I didn't say the same about the Cowboys this season, so that's positive.
We're cheering for the right
the right team in Texas. Sorry if any Cowboys fans here, but you should convert, obviously. So when did your love for involving women into the game really begin? Because I don't know if you guys know, but in Texas now there are more than 150 high schools that will be playing flag this spring. And
that's a really big
insane.
And we fund them all through our foundation.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. And you guys have an opportunity in June to make it a sanctioned sport in the state of Texas. I know that has been such a big push for you because there will be more funding if it is, one of those sports, but you'll still continue funding it even if that does happen.
So we need it UIL sanctioned, so it's a high school sport, right? So it's a varsity sport. So that way you have youth development programs all learning the same rules. So right now you can play 7-on-7, 5-on-5, 11-on-11, and there's no consistency in the rules. So once it gets UIL sanctioned, you can have the same rules all the way down. And then you have opportunities for scholarship. So that is a very big deal for athletes in Texas. And we are in 150 schools for this spring, and I don't know how we don't get UIL sanctioned. We need to make Texas next. It's a big deal. I'll be there at the vote. So we're hoping to take this to the next step. We have a pro league coming next year. We have the Olympics. It's incredible. And to the question where somebody asked what you can do with your young athlete, I will say have them play every sport, because some of the best flag players I know played basketball. They learned how to box out. They position themselves, right? So to catch a ball. play every sport. It really does translate into flag football.
What's something that you've seen since working with so many women and girls in this sport that kind of makes you sit back and say, wow, this is why I'm doing it?
There's a lot of things. But one of the things that I never really thought about was the mental health of a girl belonging to a squad. Like, that's her team, that's her family. What it brings out in some of the quietest, most insecure girls I've met, and then where they are now after playing flag, is night and day. It changes their life, and they get their friends into it. So it changes an entire, friend group. There's so much confidence that can be had to play the game. We know what football does. We know what it does for generations. We know what it does for all the boys that have played and what it brings to them, a family. The one thing they miss when they retire is what? The locker room. The locker room is the one thing they miss. If they could go back and do something, they'd love to be in that locker room with all their buds. That's it. And that's what we're doing for the girls too.
How have you been able to handle some of the adversity that comes not only as a woman in this world, but also, you and your husband are the owners of the Texans, and I'm sure people, I feel this in conversations when they talk about the team, maybe they look toward him, and you're in the conversation too, and you have an opinion.
Our PR guy is laughing.
How do you handle?
How do we handle this question?
How do you handle, and maybe if you want me to start with, I think a lot of women maybe aren't as courageous or don't have enough confidence to kind of speak up in those moments and say, hey, I belong here too, or hey, I can tell you why we didn't draft that guy. Hey, I can tell you, why you cut that guy. If you want to tell us, you cut. No, I can tell you why CJ cut his.
Sure, we have
dreads for real reason. No, but how do you handle that? And what would be your advice to women in those uncomfortable conversations when you're in an Uber and you say I'm a sports reporter and they say, well, who was on the Texans in 1992? And it's like, I wasn't even alive. Come on.
Hey, Google. I would say having a husband like mine. I mean, he embraced having me in the room. He embraces having me at the table. He embraces having me in every conversation. He sees the value of having a partner, a woman right there who has, I'm sorry, but women have better intuition. We do, but we also need the balance of, it's a different viewpoint men have. Like, you need that balance. Like, we don't have all the answers, but we have some. And, my partner, Cal, he's got the other answers. Like, and if we come together, like, what we want to say is a partnership works. And we're doing the same as a team. You're trying to manage a team, but how can you manage it as one person? If you do it as a team, that's from top down. Everything you do is a team for everyone. That's what we want to represent. It's not just men in the room. There's women in the room who are also a part of the conversation.
Totally, and I think we can clap. Because I think too, I love the way that women are coming together and empowering one another, but it's nothing against the men. The men in this room are very important. You are the ones we hate, don't worry. No, we don't hate men. Men are very important in the conversation. But I think, too, one of the biggest things for women is some conversations I have with friends is there is a factor of being afraid. Okay, I want to get married. I want to have kids. If I pursue this job, am I going to be able to be a mom? Am I going to be able to have a family? If I get into flag football, will I be able to go to the Olympics and play, or am I going to get pregnant? There are things that you actually have to think about as a woman that men, you're not thinking about, am I going to get pregnant in the middle of the football season? No, men aren't getting pregnant. How have you been able to manage all of this and still be a badass mom?
Women just do. I mean, we do. I will say that I think the sport for professional female athletes is changing. And one of the things we recently did was we purchased a women's volleyball pro team, Love Bee. So in Houston, we have a women's professional volleyball team. And on that team, we have a pregnant libero. Now, we didn't abandon her. We didn't say, okay, come back to us when you're done, right? She's still a part of that team. She's still on the bench. She still comes in the building. She is still a part of that team. We're not going to punish her for being pregnant, for being a woman. And that's what we believe. And that's, if we all start to embrace that with our female athletes, instead of making them feel punished for being a woman, for being pregnant, for having kids, embrace them where they are.
Yeah, incredible. I need to hear that. Because you're a mom. It's just, you have to navigate it. But you learn as a woman and as a mom that you can do everything. Maybe not well, but you can. And with the support of other women too, it's so important to have role models. Honestly, I look up to you, and I'm sure so many others in this room do as well, because you're doing the damn thing, and you look damn good doing it. I wanted to ask about just kind of advice you had for women, or girls really, who feel like maybe they want to be leaders, maybe they want to get into a position in a front office of an NFL team, or get into a position where they're organizing a flag group, and maybe don't feel like there's a path forward. How do you carve that out if it's not, Cal isn't your husband, or you don't have successful, supportive people around you?
I would say be fearless in taking initiative. Because if your initiative is blocked, you're not in the right space. And be okay with that. So go find the right area where you can take initiative and be fearless with your ideas. And if they're not down, but you're still encouraged to continue, that's great. Because not every idea is a great idea. But continue to go. Be fearless. Be fearless in offering your opinion. I mean, sometimes I need to not offer all my opinions, and I need to stay quiet. I need to learn to be quiet sometimes. But I would say, like, if you feel convicted in where you're going and what you're saying and what you want to do it. And if you're rejected, find somewhere else, because you'll be accepted somewhere.
And I know you guys all from Texas, born and raised in Texas, and Texas, you feel like is the city of giving. What has it been like to see what you've been able to do in Texas, especially with flag football? Because over the past couple of years, it has grown drastically, and as we just mentioned, that's going to impact young girls and their confidence for decades, centuries to come.
I think being an athlete just changes your life, right? And so if we can have more female athletes starting at a young age, I think you're just going to see so much more growth. But for us personally, with flag football, we've had over 50% year-over-year growth since 2023 when we took a real focus on it. We shifted the foundation. So I know a lot of you know that when you have a foundation, you can get lost and start supporting so many things that you're not making a real impact. So we refocused back in 2023 and said, what do we know changes lives? Football. Football changes lives. It changes generations. It changes communities. So we said, we're going to go meet all these communities where they are. We're not asking them to come to the stadium. We're not asking them to go to certain locations. We're meeting them where they are and bringing it to them to hopefully change these kids' lives. And so that, to me, with the over 50% year-over-year growth, just speaks volumes of how much interest there is and where we can go.
YFM got the lens on go.